Meseches Keilim, Perek Aleph, Mishna Aleph. The Masechta starts off by introducing to us to the Avos Hatumos, to the fathers of Tumah. What is an Avos Hatumos? What are these items? These are items that have such Tumah to them that they can transmit their Tumah not only to foods and drinks. They can not only make foods and drinks Tameh, but they can even make vessels Tameh and people Tameh. So if you are a human, a Jewish human, or even if you are a vessel, even a not Jewish vessel, you have to stay clear of these Avos Hatumos, of these items, if you want to stay tahor. Now our Mishnah enumerates 5 Avos Hatumos, 5 of these items. Number 1, Hasheretz, creeping, crawling creatures. Now not every creeping, crawling creature has the ability to make you tameh. In fact, the Torah enumerates that only 8 species of these creeping, crawling creatures are an Avos Hatumos. And I'm not going to reveal to you what the 8 species are, because it's a matter of controversy, but certainly certain mice and certain rats are part of this category of Avos Hatumos. Now, number 2, they can only make you tameh when they're dead. If they're alive, then they're not tameh. Number 3, they'll only make you tameh if they're freshly dead. But if they're dried out, then they lose their tumah, unless the skeleton is whole. If the skeleton is whole, then even if they're dried out, they'll make you tameh. Now number 4, you don't need a full sheretz to make you tameh. Even a slice of a creeping, crawling creature, even a slice of a mouse will make you tameh, as long as it's the size of a lentil, of an adasha, a lentil. Because if it's less than an adasha, it cannot make you tameh, unless you have the full aver, unless you have a full limb. Because if you have the full limb of a sheretz, even if it's less than a lentil, it can still make you tameh. So that's the fine print and the qualifications of the first item here. The first Avos Hatumos is hasheretz. Number 2, going on in our Mishnah, we have v'shichvas zera and simin. So let's go down to our fine print over here. We have shichvas zera. It has to be emitted from a Jew who's minimally 9 years old. And number 2, it has to be also wet. If it's dried up, it's not ro'il azriya, and it can't make you tameh. Number 3, it has to be the size of an adasha also. It also has to be the size of a lentil to make you tameh. If the shichvas zera is less, it cannot make you tameh unless you're the one that emitted the shichvas zera. Then you'll be tameh even if it's less than an adasha. And don't be confused here, we're not talking about the person who emitted the shichvas zera, we're talking about the shichvas zera itself. That's item number 2. Going on in our Mishnah, we have item number 3 is utameh mace. This is a person who's touched a mace, who's touched a dead person. Let's come down here to our fine print. We have a Jew who touched a mace. So we're not talking about the mace himself or the vessels that touched the mace. Those are in the category of what's called Avos Hatumos, and we're not getting into that now. In our Mishnah, we're specifically talking about a Jew who touched a mace. Let's go back up into the Mishnah. So we have number 3, utameh mace. Number 4 is v'hamitzoiro, one with tsaras. Bimei sofro, while he's counting. Now what is he counting? Now a mitzoira, as you know, gets kicked out of Yerushalayim. He gets kicked out of the Machane Yisrael. Now once he loses his tsaras, he can't just come back in. There's a whole tahara process for him. He has to lose his tsaras, then he has to shave off all of the hair on his body, every gathering of hair. He waits 7 days, and then he shaves again, he brings his karbanos, and then he could come back in. So we're talking about the 7 days that he counts in between the 2 shavings. We're talking about the 7 days that he counts in between the 2 shavings. And during that time frame, he is an Avos Hatumos. So even though he's lost his tsaras, he's still tameh during the 7-day process. And now let's go to the last item, the last Avos Hatumos in the Mishnah, is number 5. Number 5 is umei chatas, pora aduma water. Umei chatas means pora aduma water. She'ein bohem, but there's insufficient amounts of them, there's not enough, kidei hazaya, in order to sprinkle with. We all know that you sprinkle someone who became tameh from a mace with pora aduma water. And you sprinkle him with the hyssop grass, but if there's not enough pora aduma water in the vessel to sprinkle him with, then that's the type of pora aduma water that we're referring to in our Mishnah. And these 5 items, as we've said, can transmit their tumah to foods, drinks, vessels, and to Keilim. As the Mishnah says, Harei elu, behold, all 5 of these items are mitamin, can transmit their tumah to an adam v'Keilim, to people and to vessels, bimaga, if you touch them. Meaning, let's go back up here. These 5 Avos Hatumos can transmit their tumah through maga, through touching. Now let's look back in the Mishnah. Uklei cheres, and to earthenware vessels, it can transmit tumah to earthenware vessels ba'avir. If it goes in the airspace, ba'avir, in the airspace of these vessels, because the Torah says regarding earthenware vessels that the tumah has to go el toichoi. The tumah has to go inside the vessel. So if you have an earthenware vessel and the tumah is touching the outside, then it remains tahor. And it's only if these 5 items dip into the airspace, only then does the earthenware vessel become tameh. And the Mishnah ends off by saying, Ve'enam mitamin, they cannot transmit tumah b'masa if you carry these items. These 5 items, when carried, does not transmit tumah. So if you meet a sheretz, if you meet a dead mouse in a dark alleyway and you kick it, but you're wearing a shoe so you haven't touched it, you're still tahor, because although you've moved it, and you've carried it, so to speak, but you haven't touched it. So these 5 Avos Hatumos can transmit their tumah through touch. In next Mishnah, we are going to list the Avos Hatumos that can transmit their tumah not only through touch, but also if you carry them. But first, it's your turn to read the Mishnah.